And the truth is, it's not people's fault they're not further ahead. Society has given you this paradigm that if you get up at 4 a.m, you hustle your ass off, you go to work. As soon as you get home, you have your side hustle. Then you got to be a great father, spend all this time with your kids. Then you got to be a great husband, do all these things for your wife. After that, maybe you can get a chance to take care of yourself, but really just shut up. Don't take care of yourself and just get back to work. Sleep 4 hours a night, and then eventually when you're in your 70s, you'll be feeling great. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. Tim, what's going on, brother?
Yo, I'm doing good. You?
I'm doing well, thank you. We just came off a very long conversation, which was a great one, which I always appreciate. But Tim, I'm going to switch it up for this episode here. What I want to talk about today for the men listening is a subject that comes up a lot. And that is the idea that I should be further ahead than I really am. What would you say to men that are having this conversation in their head right now of, here I am, I'm 35 or I'm 45 or 55, whatever it may be, I should be further ahead than I am.
How is that serving you? How is telling yourself that story serving you?
Yeah, because if someone's telling themselves that story, really they're getting some benefit, right? They're getting something from that story. Somehow, some way, and I know everybody listening to this, like, what is he talking about? How am I benefiting from this? Somehow, some way, they're getting a benefit from it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be telling it.
Well, yeah, it's almost like the comfort you get in telling yourself you should be further ahead is replacing the comfort that you'd get from taking the action and being there, because basically the action is obviously for whatever reason, again, whatever story you're telling yourself, the action is just too scary for you to take in that moment. Yet at the same time, the more you tell yourself the story of you should be further ahead, the more power you then give the story, and the more the fear then builds up.
Yeah, well, so as a man, I should be further ahead. First of all, you're in the land of comparison. Now, you could just be comparing yourself to your future self, right? So, I mean, you are for sure. You're, for me, I'll just say me as an example. I'm 42. If I look at where Doug wants to be 10 years from now, and then, when I get there, I should be further ahead. I'm comparing myself to a thought that I had previously about where I should be, my future self. And whenever studies have shown, whenever we compare ourselves to a greater version of where we are, now that could be a made up version, usually is, that is a direct link to depression. That actually science shows, it came out recently, a study about this, that it actually links to how we can get into a depressive state. And it's really that gap, right? The gap between where we are today, or at least where we view ourselves in this moment. And you and I were talking about this a little bit. That view can be clouded by being tired, not sleeping enough, stress, lack of money, or perception around money or reality, what have you. But either way, where we are in that moment of time versus where a comparison of ourselves, either ourselves in the past, right? That could be we used to be in better shape, or a comparison of ourselves in the future that we had in the past, right? I viewed myself at 42. Tim, at 42, I was going to be a billionaire, right? Ex-Navy SEAL, ripped, doing all the, you name it, my 20s.
Are you telling me you're not those things?
Yeah, I've been lying this whole years. No, actually, when you look at it, you're comparing yourself, and you're comparing yourself also to others around you, right? I should be making this much money because that's really the story you're saying. So-and-so is. I should be, in better shape because the guy in the magazine covers at the grocery store is. I should be ... And it goes on and on and on until we shoot ourselves to death, right? We constantly get in this area where we build layers. It's called stacking. We stack layers of evidence upon each other to get ourselves in this fury. And what we get from this, oftentimes, the sense of victimhood is, A, we can get attention, which then gets us love, right? People give us attention to give us love. Two, it's not our fault. It's not my fault. I get somebody to blame. And that often becomes one of the ways they do it. And the truth is, it's not people's fault they're not further ahead, right? Men listening to this, it really isn't your fault. Now, you have control over it, but it's not your fault. Society has given you this paradigm that if you get up at 4 a.m, you hustle your ass off, you go to work. As soon as you get home, you have your side hustle. Then you got to be a great father, spend all this time with your kids. Then you got to be a great husband, do all these things for your wife. And then after that, maybe you can get a chance to take care of yourself. But really, just shut up. Don't take care of yourself and just get back to work. Sleep 4 hours a night. And then eventually, when you're in your 70s, you'll be feeling great. And that's such a load of crap. First of all, no man has that much time in a day. Second of all, you have to take care of yourself first in order to be able to take care of other people. So it really isn't their fault, Tim, that they're in this state of, I should be further ahead than I am.
Yeah, I agree. I know I've been there. I was there for quite some time. And, if you're listening to this podcast and you've been telling yourself this story, then it does become your fault when you become aware and you continue to give your power away. Up until that point, if you are believing and buying into a set of rules dictated by society or whoever that really do not fit your desires or the lifestyle that you want to live, the man, father, husband that you want to be, entrepreneur, and it's not working for you, and you can see that by the results that you're getting, by the frustrations that you're experiencing, then it's time to question it, isn't it? And it's really time to question who really is responsible for this. Because in order for you to change it, you've got to take control back, don't you? You can't change your situation if you are telling yourself, or if you believe that it's, you should be further ahead, or and it's somebody else's fault, and the guys over there are lucky. And, for as long as you want to tell yourself that story, just be aware that you're not going to be able to make any changes in your life either.
Well, it's so true, right? There's different stages. The first stage is just not aware of the problem, and you go through it. And then, like as you said, once you become aware, and most men listening to this podcast are in that aware stage, they're aware of the issue. Now it is on you. It is on you to make that and get out of that state of victimhood. Because really, that's not being, in my opinion, Tim, that's not being a man. That's being a child. It's being a boy. Right? You haven't stepped up and owned yourself and your own rights to be a man. You're still in that boyhood of, mommy, take care of me. Mommy, it's not my fault. Rather than actually being in that area of being a man. And oftentimes what happens is the men start turning to food, to alcohol, to drugs, to porn, or social media, which is just as bad, or not, if not worse, in my opinion, to escape the reality that they're not stepping up as a man.
So I'm assuming, in fact, I'll ask you, I guess you've been in this position, right?
Oh, of course.
So once you became aware of the story you were telling, and, what did you then do to break the cycle?
So it's a great question. I've tried different things over time, because this is a cycle that comes up often. And like we've talked about in previous episodes, you're always doing the work. You're always sharpening the saw. Anybody listening to this going, okay, I figured it all out, is in the worst position possible, in my opinion. So oftentimes what I'll do is, when I go into this, I'll ask myself, is this true? Right? And this is something you and I have talked about today, offline. Is this in a court of law, right? If I was standing in front of the judge, the jury, and everybody else, is what I'm saying to myself or to everybody else, is that 100% true? Nobody could argue it. It's absolute fact. And of course it's not, right? You write it down. An exercise I've done in the past, Tim, is I write that story actually down on a piece of paper. Usually it takes like 2 to 3, pieces of paper. And then I look at that and I go back with a highlighter and I highlight the inarguable facts. Nobody can argue it, right? So it can't be my opinion on a situation, because that's arguable. It can't be a story I've created, because that's arguable, right? You can't have a should or a could or a would in it, because that's all arguable. It's all my story. just the facts. And when I go and look at that 3-page document, there's usually only 2 or 3 highlighted sentences. That whole document, which means I've essentially created the rest of it myself into a story. And then I set forth to rewrite it, write it a different way. And what I've done lately, and I say lately in the last few years, is then I start going through my gratitude practice. And not your typical, 5 things you're grateful for, but a much deeper gratitude practice where I'm going through a specific list of areas of my life and where I'm finding thanks. And I always start off with something easy. So an example could be, I'm very thankful for my voice because I'm able to have a conversation here with Tim and, the listeners right now. Something simple, something I can get an easy win with. And then I let that snowball to the various areas of my life. And as you and I usually talk about, it's like, crap, what am I complaining about? Like, the reality is I'm making this up and, I sound like a little baby here. And, it's just a story I've created for one reason or another. And I do my best, and I'm not, this is an area of practice of mine. I do my best not to beat myself up. But I am a very competitive person, as you know, and I'm kind of like, geez, man, what are you doing? But I do my best not to beat myself up. And then I move forward with a plan of action to get where I want to go if I'm not there. And how do I enjoy that journey along the way? So, Tim, there's something, to think about when we think about goal setting. And I know I'm going off on a tangent a little bit here, but I'll wrap it up. When you think about it, well, let me ask you a question, Tim. What's your favorite song right now?
Rob Ricardo, Settling In.
Settling In, Rob Ricardo. And so at the end of the song, how long is the song roughly? 4 minutes, 5 minutes?
6 minutes.
6 minutes? Cool. So at 5 minutes and 58 seconds, is that the best part of the song?
No.
5:59?
No.
6 minutes, is that the best part of the song?
Nope.
So then why in life, if our life is like a song, and I think it is, why don't we enjoy the whole song? For that song, you have to listen from the beginning to the end to get the full enjoyment of the music, right? But yet when we think about a goal, we think about something we want to achieve or something we actually desire in life, we think only of that end point, that 5 minutes and 59 seconds. That's when it's going to be sweet. Rather than enjoying the whole song, the orchestra, the lyrics, the music, the whole experience. For some reason, we've separated that. So to answer your question, Tim, I started looking at the whole song. How do I get there with my plan while enjoying every lyric, every note of that song from second one to when, it just starts and you get that feeling, right? That feeling when you hear the song that you just love and you hear that first beat. You know exactly what it is, and you know it's going to be in your sweet spot all the way through the end. And I really sit down and imagine that and write that out and enjoy that. And I build off that point.
I think I know why you chose this topic.
Why?
Yeah, he says with a smirk and a smile on his face.
Hey guys, I want to interrupt this episode because I want to talk to you about something important. We put together a case study on how almost 300 men have taken control of their lives. They're 4xing their business revenues and they're having more connected and intimate sex, all without sacrificing their relationships or their health by using the activation method. Now, a lot of you have contacted us and you want to know how they're doing it. We put together this short 11-minute case study just for you so you can see how these entrepreneurs are achieving this level of success. To get this case study, all you have to do is go over to thepowerfulman.com/11. Yep, that's 11. And you can get the case study right now. All right, it's only 11 minutes and it's going to show you exactly how these men have done it. All right, let's get back to the episode.
I get it. Because obviously on the last episode we were talking about the navigation of, what's my growth right now, my personal and intimate growth in my relationship. And what I am taking from this conversation right now is twofold. what I've been telling myself and feeling like of late is that, oh my God, sometimes growing can be so messy and painful. It can be so messy and painful. And I have been telling myself the story that it should be different. Now, there's a flip side to that story that is a gratitude one and an appreciation one of where I am right now and what we do have going on in the relationship, and then allowing the growth to occur with curiosity and fun and enjoyment, rather than a need for the growth to happen in order to get somewhere. Because the deeper narrative there is that, okay, and when I get there, that is when I will insert the blank, feel good enough or be the man or whatever. And obviously, I know that that is never the case. That narrative never works out because that point in time never arrives. It's not a case of when you arrive somewhere, that is when you will be a certain man or, feel a certain way. You get to, if that's the feeling you seek, you get to feel that today, regardless of the outcome.
That's absolutely beautiful, Tim. And I'm not saying that's the reason I picked this topic. However, that's a great insight to get. And I think you're 100% right. You want to be in that state before, right? We know this. If you listen to this, I know you know this, you embody it, Tim, and I know our listeners have heard us talk about this. And I know the men in the Powerful Man movement have gone through this, but it's a reminder for all of us. And it's a reason I write this in my journal almost every single day. It's be, do, have, right? Be that right there. But it's also be present with it in the moment, which is why I go through that whole practice to get there.
Doesn't feel very good to be present with it right now for me, although I agree it is. And the heaviness that I am feeling, right, I have a choice right now, and we all have a choice in whatever area we are growing in, telling ourselves a story that we should be further ahead or things should be different, and understanding and realizing that and reclaiming your power by accepting that. The choice then becomes around whether you then allow something to unfold and do so with fun and curiosity as it continues to grow and develop, or you attack it with force. And when you attack it with force, in my opinion, all that happens then is you continue in the same energy and perspectives that tell the same story, that you should be further ahead, and that will just continue and continue and continue and continue.
Yeah, it becomes Groundhog's Day. It's like fighting a rip current. You keep fighting it, it's worse, or a quicksand. It gets worse and worse and worse when you're fighting it rather than being in it. Now, I'll share with you one other thing as we talk about this subject. Is the man that married my wife and I, very spiritual man, very spiritual, great friend of mine. And I remember, I was working with him. I was coaching him, believe it or not. And I remember talking to him, and he was actually going through a state of depression. And he was like, Doug, you know what it feels like for me is it feels like a warm, someone got a wet, warm wool blanket and draped it over me. And it's that heaviness I'm feeling right now. And as we were talking about it and he was sharing with me, he said, you know what? I'm going to sit with this feeling and I'm going to allow myself to feel this for 3 more days. And after that, it's over. And that was a practice he had done. And I worked with him for, maybe a decade, right? For a long time. Amazing man. And he had done that many, many times with anger and different emotions that our society would say are bad emotions, right? Anger, jealousy, depression, etc. And his philosophy was different, and I liked it a lot, and I still do. His idea was like, no, this is a human emotion. We're a human being having experience here, and I'm going to, use this emotion, and I'm going to allow myself to experience this emotion but I'm only allowing myself to be a victim for 3 days. I'm only allowing myself to be depressed for 3 days. And after that, it's over. And you know what? It would be for him. And he would allow himself to deeply feel it, like deeply feel it. And he would play into it. And his idea was, hey, he's again, a very spiritual person. His idea was, I'm a human being. This is part of the human emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I try to stop this human emotion rather than celebrate it? And he kind of celebrated what we would typically think of as a negative emotion. And it just built him. It's amazing. And he's one of those people, and you meet him. I've walked out of so many social situations where someone meets him and he leaves and they say, wow, I just want to be him. These are very prominent people. And so, we talk about this, and I know you brought it back to you, but when we talk about this for the other guys that are listening to this, and you're talking about, what you're doing and your shoulds, you should be further ahead. Fine. Maybe for you sit with that for a few days and really dive deep into that angst if you'd like to experience it, to have it, because maybe that's causing you to up level to hit your highest level, to having issues where you're not breaking through a plateau. Maybe you do get to feel it at a deeper level to allow you to push through to the next level. Maybe it's just a sign that you're about to explode, as we talked about in a previous episode. Geometric growth, and all of a sudden you dip down a little bit before you take your next big leap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely true for me. And I think, let's say that you were telling yourself the story that should be further ahead, like we said, and you then attack it with need and force. You then ignoring and avoiding the energy and the emotion, aren't you? Whereas for me, just like your friend, if I sit with it, you asked me a question on the last episode, well, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't really know right now. And I don't know right now because I'm sitting with it and finding my way through it and being with it. And, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm the type of person that you can really see how I'm feeling. I don't suppress it or hide it. And in situations like this for me, hence why I ended up just sending a text message to Amelia and I didn't wait. In situations like this for me, being with the emotion serves as fuel and gives me a lot of understanding in which space is then created. And I'm able to then navigate out of that with clarity and real acceptance and gratitude for what's coming, rather than trying to force my way out of it as soon as I'm in it, because I don't want to be there because I shouldn't be feeling this way. And if I am, then I'm either weak or, I'm a loser or, I'm not being a man. Men don't do this, whatever it is. Because then you just repeat, don't you? Because when you go into try and solve it from the energy that created it, Einstein says a problem cannot be solved at the same level of thinking that created it. So if you then go and try and do that, even when you then achieve the thing that you were telling yourself you should be achieving, you'll still be telling yourself the same story because you've not changed the energy, the drive.
Oh, it's so true. I mean, it's so true. So, Tim, what would you say to a man that's listening to this right now, riding his car, working out, as us powerful men do, that's going through this whole scenario right now, saying, man, I should be making more money. I should be doing this. Because usually what happens is I should be doing this, or I should be making more money because then I can feel, or then I can do what have you. What advice would you give them?
Get yourself over to Leeds and let's wallow in self-pity together. Just for 3 days. Just for 3 days. And then let's make a change. Yeah, seriously, be with it. It's there to serve you. I don't have full clarity right now about, my next steps, and I'm okay with that. Because I know that sitting with it and being with it, things are going to drip feed through bit by bit, insight by insight over the next few days. And in my experience, my biggest periods of growth have come from experience like this, which has then led to an exponential uprising. And it's in these periods where I've let the insights trickle through without forcing them, without needing to change the energy and the emotion that I'm in. And don't wallow in it either. There'll come a point where you'll cut it off. So be with it, take the insights, glean them, and then make a change.
I love it. Love it. All right, gentlemen, that is a wrap for us and another episode of the Powerful Man Show in the bag. Until then, have an amazing day, and we'll see you next time on the Powerful Man Show.